Welcome, and thank you all for joining us for this very special series of the Crexi Podcast, an insider's look at all things commercial real estate. I'm your host, Shanti Ryle, Director of Content at Crexi, and this is the Women of Influence series, delivering next-level insights and expertise live from GlobeSt's Women of Influence Conference. And today, we are thrilled to sit down with Amy Galvin. A little bit about our guest. Amy Galvin is the CEO and co-founder of Luxury Living, a vertically integrated Chicago-based residential real estate company offering boutique brokerage services balanced with best-in-class multifamily consulting, marketing, leasing, and development. She leads day-to-day operations and strategy for the entire organization, all with the goal of providing the company's clients, developers, and renters a premier service experience. She actively pours her heart, empathy, and humanity into the company. She aims to create a workplace where team members understand how their work contributes to the company's greater good, enjoy collaborating, and thrive personally and professionally. I love that. Amy previously served as Chief Culture Officer, focusing on workplace culture, diversity, inclusion, talent strategy, and team growth. Amy is a certified professional coach and trained facilitator of the Fair Play Method. We'll talk a little bit more about that too. She is passionate about women's equality and advocates for women through coaching, mentorship, speaking engagements, and published writings. She is a strong advocate of mentoring women in business and is honored to be a mentor with the JCC's Women in Power program and the Goldie Initiative. Amy has been recognized as a who's who in Chicago real estate and a BizNow Chicago Power Woman for her leadership and support of women in the industry. She's a graduate of Indiana University and the Second City Improv Training Program. I also did improv. Ooh. We can talk about that too. Amy is mom to Mia and Lana. In her free time, she enjoys reading and spending time in nature. Amy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Shanti. It's so great to be here.
Yes, we're so happy to have you here. Very excited. You're giving a panel a little bit later today.
I am.
Yeah, lots of fun stuff going on for you today.
Yeah.
But diving right on into it, I gave a brief background of what you've been up to in your career path, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about your story in your own words. So
sure.
How'd you get into real estate in the first place?
Yeah, I never thought I was going to be in real estate. So I went to Indiana and I graduated from the School of Journalism, which doesn't exist there anymore.
Oh no. Rest in peace.
Yeah. So I found myself in the public relations industry. So I worked at some larger firms and had great experience there. And actually, I was in brand marketing. So I was surrounded by a team of women, which was really exciting. Fast forward, and as I grew in my career, I started doing less of the creative stuff and more of like the budgeting and the billing. And I was like, this is not that much fun anymore. And at the time, my boyfriend, who then became my husband, had gotten into real estate. So he was a real estate agent in Chicago and had started his own firm. We got married and I left. That's when I got into improv, and I just I worked at a furniture store. I did all sorts of things, but mostly I helped him with some marketing and some back office stuff. And from there, the business grew, and today we are a multi-million-dollar company in Chicago with a team of, at one point we were 70. I think we're more like 40 now, but it has been a wild ride, and I've really become an entrepreneur and have worked. We've owned our business for 17 years, so I've learned a lot on the job mostly. But real estate I'm so fortunate to be in real estate. We're in residential, so I love the fact that we get to help people find their home. It's such a meaningful and special experience. It's very emotional. Your home is where like so many milestones happen to you. So I take that very seriously. I take employing people very seriously, as you read in my bio.
Sure.
I mean, I really, really care about the experience that people have.
I love that. Yeah. And I really love that. It sounds like your story kind of took you to all these different corners of, I guess, the workforce, you could say.
Yep.
And so I'm really curious, throughout that many faceted journey, what are some really important lessons you think you learned either early on, maybe even a little later in your career path that have been the most important like foundational belief system or lessons that you've carried with you?
Yeah. Well, we started the company like 2008. And we had no idea that a market crash was coming. So we were just naive enough and young enough and courageous enough, I think, to get started. And my courage has really taken me so far. Even sitting here like on the mic with you, it's a very courageous thing to do, to like get on a mic and share your story. So I would say, I really tapped into my courage and trying lots of different things. And then that was early in my career. And now that I'm later in my career, I think I have taken so many of those experiences that we've had to pivot so many times as a business. Right after we started our business, a market crash came. So, we were still helping people find their home, but we were also getting into scattered site property management because we had all of these people who had bought investment condos who all of a sudden they're like, I can't sell. So I'm going to have to be a landlord. We called them our accidental landlords. And so we started a scattered site property management company. We started a flat fee MLS business. I mean, we've tried so many different things. Our business today is really super hyper focused. But in the early stages, especially being entrepreneurs, we always did things that were like industry adjacent, I would say. And those experiences have really informed who we are now and what we do today.
Yeah, I'm curious, just going off a little bit on a tangent here, as you made each of those pivots, I guess, the core is your husband and yourself and your team that you've built around you that we'll get into about, you're passionate about team building. But I'm curious what thread connected each of those decisions to pivot? What were the core principles and guiding beliefs that informed how you adapted your strategy?
Yeah, I would say surviving.
Well,
really?
That's important.
Yeah. I mean, surviving. We could always have opted, I think, to go to a corporate job, right? We had so many skill sets and experiences that at that point that we could have gone back to corporate America and said okay, we'll take all of these experiences with us and, go work with larger teams. That's always on the table. But I think that we have really wanted to remain independent because there is something about solving problems that I really personally love. And I think it's this, sometimes you hear about fixed mindset and adaptable mindset. When you're in a fixed mindset, you're like, okay, this is the only option that we have. And I think the through line for all of it is that we've always just seen there are possibilities out there, and to take a step back sometimes and say okay, this is what we're up against, and maybe we need to re-strategize or recalibrate. I mean, right now we're in a big recalibration years. I'm sure people who have come in through the podcast have talked about the market is really interesting right now across all sectors of real estate, and multifamily is definitely in a downward part of their cycle for sure. And in Chicago, there aren't any cranes up right now for new development. So
very limited supply.
Yeah. And I think that, we're in it for the long run. We believe in Chicago. We have we know that there are a lot of buildings that will get built. And so this year I'm really looking at it as it's not a down year, it's a recalibration year.
Absolutely. I like that reframe too. And I think, to your point about courage, it does take a lot of guts and I think self-confidence to be no, I'll make it through this challenge. I just need to have my eyes open, see what we can do, and then decide to do it. So really kudos to you and the team for doing that.
Thank you.
Speaking of recalibration, can you share for our listeners any stories about particularly tough challenges you've had to overcome in your career, whether that's, starting a company during the recession or maybe just any other roadblocks that you might not have recognized as opportunities at the time, but later you're like, oh, wow, I'm so glad it pointed me in that direction.
For sure. There's so many stories. But I think two really stand out right now. And one is in 2019, we decided that we were going to hire a business coach and a strategist and really focus on the entrepreneurial operating system. And so we followed that methodology to a T. And in that year, because we were evolving as an organization and our structures were evolving because we were really applying this methodology to our business, we had a ton of turnover. We had 30 people come in and out of the organization in one year.
And with a team of 50 to 70, that's a lot of people.
It was a lot of
Yeah.
people. And it was some really long time people too, who at the time it was really difficult. And we had formed, a team is so important to us, as you probably are picking up on. And we had formed some really deep relationships with these people. And so for them to look around and say, you know what, this isn't the same place anymore that like I started at and have been at, and they left to go on to do different things in that moment. And I think where I was at in my career, it was really difficult. But now in hindsight, looking back on it, like those people have gone off to have like such great success. And I can step back and say like, I'm really proud that like their career started at our organization.
Yeah.
And it really has helped me in my journey as people come and go in business, because they do all the time, that it isn't personal, it's business. And so I get to take a lot of pride in whether somebody's with us for less than a year, whether somebody's with us for 10 years. I mean, we do have some pretty long-term people who are at our organization, but I get to take a lot of pride in the fact that we've had an impact on their life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And just based on all these amazing different women's groups that you work with, clearly you really are passionate about mentorship and growing individuals' careers, particularly women in real estate. So I'd like to touch a little bit on that, kind of taking us back when you first started in the sector. Did you have any key mentors or individuals that helped guide you on your path? And then kind of like bringing that timeline forward, how have you tried to pay that forward with people in your own sphere?
Yes. So as I mentioned, working at PR agencies, I was surrounded mostly by women. And I was so young, I was in my 20s. And so I got to see women at different stages of their life. So some women who were going off on maternity leave, and some women who had older children, and some women who didn't have children at all and were really like career women focused on their professional life. So they were my mentors. They were my early mentors, even though they weren't in real estate. I learned so much from them, and I really feel very honored and lucky that I got to have that experience, because I think it's rare to be surrounded by women.
Yeah.
Fast forward to 2016, I made the decision. I looked around my company and I was like, wow, there's like not a lot of women that work here. And I think that, first of all, women are great salespeople. I think that I think that women are
We're very charming.
We are. And I think that women are, very good managers, and that we can hold a lot, and that we really care about human beings. And so I made a commitment. I was like, since I'm a woman-owned business, like I would like to be a company that is for women, by women, right? So I was like, okay, I want to hire more women salespeople. I want to make sure that our leadership team is equally represented by women. I want to make sure that women have a path to management and leadership in my organization. So at the time, we were like 72% men at the company, and today we're 72% women at the company.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
So you like come to an event,
Yeah.
or you log on to a Zoom, and it's really special. It's very unique. And I think that when we are hiring, a lot of women look at our team page and they're like, oh my God, there's so many women that work here. And that is something that we do hear in the interviews from women who find that that's really important to them, to be surrounded by women.
It's so interesting how it, like, I don't know if it's talked about as much, but it's subtle signals like that just take off like so much of a wave of like pressure and like catalyze a wave of interest and excitement. Just seeing yourself represented in a space, especially in a space that you're hoping to participate in and, lend your efforts to. And I think, part of the issue with commercial real estate for sure, but real estate in general is that, so many people think, oh, selling houses, I don't know if that's for me, and think that's like the only career option for them.
Yeah.
And don't really know what potential they have to, have a really successful business, be able to generate wealth for themselves. So I'm curious, when you work with younger professionals, younger women especially, just starting out in their careers, what are some key lessons or advice that you try to leave them with during your time with them?
Yeah, well, I think that a superpower for women is our intuition. And we often ignore it because we are told by either other people, our family, society, like, oh, we should be doing this. Like the word should, like if you say should, then like maybe just like double click on that and be like, why am I saying should right now? So intuition, I think that is something that I really encourage everyone who I work with. So whether you're on my team, whether I'm mentoring you, I really believe that like trusting your intuition is so important, whether it's in business or whether it is in your personal life. Like we just have this like magic about us, and that's our intuition. And it's so usually like spot on. And if you also are saying something like, well, this might sound crazy. Actually, it's not crazy at all. It's probably brilliant. So
yeah,
again, like if you're saying should, click on that and be like, why am I saying should? And then if you're like, this is crazy, is it crazy or is it brilliant?
Yeah, is it actually crazy?
Yeah,
I don't think anyone will throw you in the psych ward. Don't worry about it.
No. Yeah.
No, I really love that you say that, because I think there is, especially among younger people, I've faced this myself. There's just like you really kind of have to put in the reps to build in confidence sometimes. Some people are very lucky. They're just like, I'm just going to go in.
Born with it.
Guns blazing and it's fine. But
Yeah.
just like knowing that strength is already inside you. Once you start trusting that, like so many doors start unlocking.
Absolutely.
And you can achieve really great things.
You can. And mentorship is huge. I mean, I am a mentor in the groups that you named in my bio, and I'm a mentor because I do believe that women need a network. The men have like that old boys club. Women need a network as well, because
the New Girls Club.
The New Girls Club. Ooh, I love that. The New Girls Club. Yeah. You need people to hold your hand. You need people to put you up for opportunities. You need people to make introductions to you and open some doors for you. And so I feel fortunate because of the early on experiences that I had, but I also recognize that I am in a really great place of privilege where I have made it to a leadership position, and it is my responsibility and it is a core value of mine to extend the hand and say, okay, come with me. Like I know that what it took for me to get here and to blaze that trail and be a pioneer in some of the spaces that I'm in. And so I've done that like work already, and I am like reaching out my hand and saying, okay, come on, we're gonna come along a little faster because the trail is cleared for you here.
No, absolutely. And it sounds like, I hear a lot of sparkle of pride in your voice about being able to do that. So that makes my heart very happy.
Yeah. And I have 2 daughters as well. So I think that there's some things that I have to model for them that, were very different from when I was growing up. And I can't wait to see like what the world looks like for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Speaking of your daughters, this is such a weird segue, but I wanted to ask, just getting back to luxury living a little bit and tying it a little bit into the Chicago market before we have to wrap up on our time. So I'd love to know some projects that your team has worked on that you're particularly proud of. And what projects are you currently working on right now, and how do they play kind of into the broader economic landscape of what's happening in Chicago, what's happening in the market in general, and kind of just extrapolating on that, what trends are you seeing play out in the market in the next few quarters or so. If we just wanted to pick a timeline.
Sure.
It's kind of a big question.
It is a big question, but I got you. So actually, we have done, as an organization, we have done 60 plus lease ups in the Chicago or Chicagoland market. So we have seen a lot. We started on, smaller properties, and we've done lease ups of 700 unit buildings that are right in the middle of downtown Chicago on the river. So we've run the gambit of assets, and we're very proud of that. And, I think we take our smaller projects and we take them just as seriously as our larger projects, because honestly, like, the same amount of work sometimes goes into launching these buildings and getting everything online and up and running.
On your company.
It does. It does. Right now, what we're really proud of, so we have 6 lease ups in 2024. We love them all. However, this year we have our first co-development that our company has been involved in, and it's the St. Grand in the Streeterville neighborhood of Chicago. It's about a 250 unit building. We started leasing there in March of this year. We're about 68% leased as of like today.
Amazing.
We have our grand opening this week, which is very exciting. So we're super proud of that. And we want to do more developments. That is part of our strategic plan moving forward. We love being a third-party leasing company. We also want to own development. And I think my husband and I want to own real estate in Chicago, because Chicago is such a great city that gets such a bad rap sometimes. But
there's a lot happening
in Chicago, but it is a world-class city. And we are doubling down on it. We want to develop more. And I think the reason why is we want to create safe, inspiring places for people to live their lives. And it's still that through line of helping people find their homes. And we want to own these buildings, and we want to help people live the best lives that they possibly can. So that's what we're proud of. I think the landscape, over the next couple of months is we have to wait to see what happens with rates. Hopefully things will shift there. Yep. I think people are optimistic about rate cuts coming up soon, but I do know that there's a lot of conversations that are being had out there, and the minute that people feel like it's ready to go, they're going to go. They're going to go. Yep. So I'm taking this quiet time, like I said, as the recalibration time, so that when it's time to go, we're ready to go.
Hit the ground running. Yep. I love it. I love it. If you are doing any multifamily development in Chicago, definitely hit up Amy.
Thank you.
At Luxury Living. And before we wrap up, I want to make sure, our listeners can get in touch with you. So can you share, social media, email, anything you're comfortable with?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very active on Instagram and LinkedIn. So on Instagram, it's Amy Galvin 05. You can find me there. LinkedIn, just search my name, Amy Galvin. Connect with me. I'm very active. I love to connect. I love to connect with women in real estate. I'm pretty, if you Googled me, you could find me. So reach out.
Amazing. Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time and everything you shared. Very excited to hear your panel later.
Thank you.
So best of luck on that.
Thank you so much.
And just thank you for coming on our show. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, do not miss the next one in our Women of Influence series. You can visit www.crexi.com/podcast and sign up to get the next episode delivered straight to your inbox. You can also subscribe to the Crexi Podcast on your favorite podcast app, or check out our YouTube channel for video recordings of each episode. Take care and be sure to tune in next time.